Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Notes from the Judges, where I interview some of the judges of the 2025 Speaker Awards for their insights on the applications, the good, the bad, and the ugly. My name's Lavalda Vincenzi. I am one of the co-founders of the Speaker Awards. And today we have the delight of speaking to one of our amazing judges, Charlott Fagergard. Did I get it right?
Almost, not far off, Lavelle. That is Fagergard.
Fagergard?
Fagergard. Yeah, it's
Fagergard!
a Scandinavian surname, but you did well.
Welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to give us some of your insights on judging. You are not new to judging the awards. You judged with us last year. I think it's at least this is year two for you, isn't it?
It's year two for me, yes.
Fantastic. So you'll have seen a little bit of an evolution. For people who've not come across you before, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and also let us know which categories you were judging in 2025?
Yes, sure. So I'm a super connector. I often come across as Tinder for business networking. I love business. I love connecting people, and especially within the field of speakers, because I think the field of speakers can be very lonely space. And I think what you created with the Speaker Awards is absolutely incredible because it gives a platform where people can connect. And if you are in with collaboration and connection and all of that at the forefront, this event and things is really for you because you've created something very special in a very competitive world. And that's where my heart is. So I think that collaboration is key to any sustainable business. I don't believe in competition. I think that you need to collaborate to be able to thrive, not just survive. I've run several businesses, but my absolute passion is listening to speakers and also be able to support both speakers in themselves or people within business that want to become speakers. So there's lots of differences there. And I was judging the newcomer of the year, which I did last year as well. And this year we had, I think, nearly close to 50 applicants. So it was incredible. I mean, the quality of the speakers were amazing. And then I also judged the virtual speaker of the year, which is a tough category, I think. So we come back to that probably a little bit later in this interview.
Wonderful. I love that you say you've looked at both years because what I took from what you just said, especially with the newcomer, is if you entered that category in 2025, you were in a very competitive category because the quality was incredibly strong. So let's dive into the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we'll start with the good. There must be some common traits that you've seen in applications that have simply jumped off the metaphorical page for you. What have been qualities of applications that you've seen over the last couple of years, but in particular this year, where an application really stood out for you?
So one of the things, if I start with last year, was the fact that a lot of people had taken video content from various places that they've been to and done speaking. And sometimes in that field, then they missed out on punchlines, the core message of their talk, and also leaving the audience with something to take home. And those are the three components that I think are so important when you're a speaker. So if you cut this together badly, it's not going to sit well with the judges. This year, actually, we saw a lot better presentations and a lot better video content. And I think video content, obviously, when you enter an award online, is super important, especially in the virtual speaking competition. It's got to be spot on. In my opinion, and we saw that a lot of people have put a lot of effort, and I think that's really lovely to see because video, as we know, is everything. And if you are a speaker, you need to showcase that you can speak on stage and what your presence is like on stage. And if that doesn't come across to the judges, it's kind of a no from the beginning, I'm afraid. And that sounds harsh, and I don't want to be harsh. But if you're watching it yourself and you don't feel that connection with the person and the presence on the stage through the video, then it's a tough call, I'm afraid.
You're not the first judge who's mentioned the selection of footage. And there's something you said in there about it's got to have sort of a beginning, a middle, and an end. And where you cut that footage makes such a difference. Because I think there's a temptation to want to show variety. And what I'm hearing you say is sometimes that leaning into showing variety, people have done themselves a disservice because they've pulled out bits that would have helped to round that story. And that's all you've got to judge on.
Yeah. And if you haven't watched, I mean, a lot of the people might have other YouTube videos and things, but as a judge, if you're judging over like 80 people, you're not going to watch an hour video and go back and think, oh, I just watched that one an hour. You literally have the video that you have put into the award application. That is what we judge on. Yes, we may go back and we may look at other things, but just remember that. I think if you haven't been shortlisted this year, maybe that is something that you missed out because you wanted to show us everything. And that's lovely. But just think if you were in the seat of judging about 80 people, what you would do and what would land with you to be able to put that candidate forward.
So the good ones picked a good piece of footage and they showed some restraint rather than
Yes.
trying to show everything, absolutely
Yes.
everything. And where they've got it wrong, where an application has, almost kind of floated to the bottom of the pile. And I know this year's was particularly strong. So perhaps this question's a little bit more challenging to answer. But are there some common pitfalls and common mistakes that you see across applications?
It is actually, and it is the fact that they've forgotten their clear message. So they have cut together bits and pieces. It's all very polished. It might be the best show reel ever. But if they kind of get lost because they're showing too much of lots of different venues that they've been to and they miss out the core message and maybe miss leaving us as judges with a clear takeaway from that person. Because if you're watching again about 80 people, that one thing is going to stick in your head that you're being left with as a judge. And there's so many other things that we look at as well, but that is how you're being remembered. That tiny little nugget that you give us to take away into our lives that could maybe help us. And, we see some meaning in what we've been seeing. And I think that is a massive thing that people often miss in the application, purely because they want to showcase everything of what they do. And the other thing is video. It doesn't always need to be professional video, but just take some time and actually look at what you want to showcase. And for me, as a speaker, it's really, really important that you have that punchline in the beginning. You've got maybe some humor. You don't need to be a comedian, but it's just something that kind of picks us up and go, wow, oh, I want to hear more. And especially if you're sitting there hour after hour listening to lots of different people, you need to engage straight away and you need to have that message and you need to leave us with that little takeaway that makes us remember you. And I think that's sometimes missed if you have a lot of video content from lots of different areas.
It sounds like in some instances where people have got it wrong is they pull together a highlight reel but they haven't applied for the show reel category because that wasn't the category that you were judging. And in doing so, what you're looking for is, does this, part of your judging criteria is around message. And if there isn't anything in it, I can see somebody speaking on stage, but it's almost as if you're left wanting, what do they speak about? What's their core message? Where would I put them? How would I place them? Because there isn't enough meat on the bones.
Exactly that. And if you don't get enough meat on the bones when you're watching several, videos and you're judging on all elements, because we look at lots of different things, obviously, in the categories. And if we can't hear that clearly and on to the next one, you might have lost out because of that. And that would be a real shame. So that's something that I would really say, just take some time over that and make sure that you get the message that you want to get out there right.
What's interesting in what you share is we do pre-calls where people can ask questions before they submit their application. And we have a couple of them every year where potential applicants jump on and they can ask us any questions. And video tends to be one of the areas where we get the most questions. And most of the time, the questions around video are around how it's spliced together. What bits of footage can I select? Can it be old footage? Does it need to be new footage? Can I shoot it in my house? Do I need to get it edited? It's all about the polish around it. And what I'm hearing you say is what's most important to you is, what is the footage of? What are you saying?
Yes, because for me as a speaker, you have, that's your core message, and it can't just, you might talk about your personal story, you might share something that's more business related. Whatever you do as a speaker, there's got to be a point where you engage with the audience and you have that aha moment that somebody can take away, and that's why they will want to listen to you. We can all hear personal stories and we can relate to them, but it's how you engage with an audience, especially then online when you're doing your award application. Just think about sort of general things that you have in your core message that can relate to all of us as judges, because you're not going to know who I am, who somebody from a bureau is, from somebody from an agency. We're all very different personalities that are judging the competition, and there needs to be a real core message for us to remember and be able to select what we think is important and how you come across delivering that.
So core message, core message, core message. Let's talk about let's talk about the near misses, because the competition this year was incredibly tight, and those who were at the top will have nailed the core message piece. So what were the little micro things that were actually making the difference?
I think it was video, to be honest with you. I think the people that really take the time, and there are people who've been shortlisted who did not have a completely polished video. So don't feel like you need to go out there and spend £10,000 on a video. It's how it's coming across when you're watching it, more than actual, the show reel effect and the all singing and dancing show reel. Yes, of course, if you're entering that category, that's what we will be looking at. But if you're a newcomer, that's not perhaps the only thing, that's not the only thing that we were looking at. So video and how you come across on the video. So there was a few in the newcomers, for example, that had, their branding clothing. I'm in one of my branding clothings today because I'm doing an interview, and just think about those little things and you can really pick that out. So, you see the appearance of the person, and that's so important when you're entering this competition virtually, because that really takes a real kind of shine to how you come across, and we can almost pick up personality from that as well, and that sits really well with everything that I believe that you should have as a quality speaker and professional speaker.
I'm hearing what we want to do is look at the video footage almost of the best gigs that you did, where you were feeling your best, where you had the most energy, where your delivery had all of the nuance in it. And that's where you want to be selecting from, rather than selecting across the board for variety. So I think I know what the answer to this question is going to be. It's my last question to you. If there was one thing that you wished more applicants had done, or that applicants had done better, what would that be?
It would be the video content.
Yeah.
It really would be. But again, the message needs to come across on that video, your takeaway. So the 3 elements of a great professional speaker needs to come across in your application. That would be my advice.
Thank you so much, Charlotte, for taking the time to speak to us today. If you applied for the 2025 awards, I hope you found this useful. If you're interested in looking at the awards for any future awards, please go and check out the website, thespeakerawards.com. Until next time, my name's Lavalda Vincenzi. See you in the next one.